Welcome back to Locked On Blues. I'm your host, Haley Taylor Simon, here with another episode. Today, we're going to talk about the season's goals, and we're also going to talk about the prospects and how the future is maybe closer than we all think. This is all coming up here on Locked On Blues.
You're Locked On Blues, your daily podcast on the St. Louis Blues. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome back to Locked On Blues. As I said, I am your host, Haley Taylor Simon, and we have a good amount of stuff to get into today. I first off want to thank you for making Locked On Blues your first listen every day here, a part of the Locked On Podcast Network. So in today's episode, as I did mention, we're going to talk about the future of the prospects. We're also going to talk about some goals that we should have for the season. But first, I want to let you know that it is off season right now for Locked On NHL. It's not just Locked On Blues, it's all the NHL Locked On podcast. What this means is that I'm going to be cutting back only on one episode per week, which will be on Mondays. Now, if something does happen, of course I'm going to make an episode. My goal is to still produce as much content as possible. For whatever reason, in the name of sports, besides football, Monday just happens to be one of the slowest news days. Covering so many different sports, I know this firsthand. So don't think I'm not going to come on here because I will if something happens. But Monday is usually when things begin to boil, and Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, and especially Fridays are huge story days in the name of sports. So I just wanted to give you a little bit of updates on that. No, I'm not going to come back to 3 episodes. I'm still going to do 4 episodes, probably 5, because I'm going to get bored and miss talking to you. But I just wanted to give you a little bit of an update why there wasn't an episode yesterday. But on Twitter at Locked On Blues, I do explain the scheduling. And of course, like if there's a trade or something happens, of course there will be an episode. So I just wanted to say that off the bat that you will still be seeing my face majority of the week. And for those that are listening, you will hear my voice majority of the week. We are also on YouTube, so make sure you hit that subscribe button. And if you're on any of the streaming platforms, make sure to follow, subscribe, whatever you can. Give a like. It's much appreciated. So one thing that I want to get into this week is called Goal Setting Week. And I like to have little themes, especially in my head. I'm the kind of person where I do the best when I have goals. I like to set my goals and then achieve my goals. So it's a fitting time to say that this is goal setting week. And I'm not talking about me. I'm talking for the St. Louis Blues. This week is a week where I am going to discuss goals for offense, defense, the goalies, all that, power play unit, etc. But today it is the season goal. So each day I'm going to have a different goal that I'm going to discuss, and then you can give me your thoughts in the comments or on Twitter. But just expect each episode this week, we're going to have a different goal for the St. Louis Blues. This is going to be a fun little exercise, a fun little segment for not only myself, but even for you. We're going to have different opinions. You're going to have an opinion that's not the same as my opinion. And that's fine. I want it to be that way. Okay, let's get into the goals. Overall this season, I believe that the St. Louis Blues are a wild card team entering the playoffs. I believe the St. Louis Blues hit, see, this is where it's coming to the wins and losses, and I hate doing this, but I'm going to say they get oh man, let's just do points. Let's say the Blues hit 87 points. Let's go say before they have a winning record, obviously, they're going to do well. It's so hard to break this down, right? Because there's so much that I could say. Let's go say this. The St. Louis Blues have a season that surprises many. And they're going to have trades before the trade deadline, obviously trades before the trade deadline. But this is my thought process, folks, is that Army's going to do something about the defense before the trade deadline. And it's going to be one of the biggest trades in this year's trade deadline. I know that's a little out there. These are my predictions, and what I'm going to do during the season, if these things do happen, we're going to take a look back and we're going to go over what I was right about, what I was wrong about. See, this is fun because it's talking hypothetically. I still believe that the Blues' blue line is their biggest weakness. The defense scares the crap out of me. There is no doubt about that. But what I can say is this, is that for some reason Army has kind of regained my trust in a sense, especially after the draft. And who's to say that the Blues can't make moves during the season? They can't, like, of course they can. Just because free agency opened up and the Blues didn't really make any huge moves right away. Oh, do you ever crack your neck? I don't know if anyone heard that. But it doesn't mean that it's still not a possibility. So I still believe in that. Season goals. This season, I would like to see the Blues perform better on their penalty kill. Again, that goes back into the defense situation. If you don't have a good defense, you're not going to have a good PK. So that's another thing I want to see them improve on. I want the Blues to score more. That is another goal. Obviously, that's a very obvious goal, but I think scoring more. But another goal that I have for the St. Louis Blues is to become a team that is talked about throughout the league in a positive way. What I mean about it is this. The NHL likes to talk about the same group of teams, no matter how they're playing. It's just reality. And I think that for St. Louis's sake, it would be beneficial to get some more positive recognition because they didn't really get that much last season. And I think that another goal that the fan base should have is getting over that they're never going to be that 2019 team. Well, 2018, 2019. My co-host is sleeping. Do you guys want to see co-host? Co-host is my cat. It's Stella. But she is sleeping. But the point is this. There is a reason why people set up goals in life. And sure. Are they going to be achievable? I don't know. But do I think that the Blues have the potential? Absolutely. But I think another goal is this, and this is where we're going to get into individual goals with offense, defense, goaltending. We're going to get into that, so I'm not going to go too specific. But I think a goal that I have is for Coach Berube, for Craig Berube. And my goal for him is this. Do not give up on this team. Install them with greatness. Allow them to believe in themselves again. Don't go easy on them. Don't coddle them. Don't do any of that because that is not going to help the St. Louis Blues succeed. And I'm not saying that's what we did last season, but it just looked lackadaisical. And at the end of the year presser, Armstrong was the one to say that he was disappointed in the defense and that he expected better. And sure, Berube, well-respected coach, and I do respect him, but I do think he went a little easier on the guys, and I am not okay with that. Being a fan of the St. Louis Blues, you want the team to be successful. You want them to play with passion. You want them to play with heart. And the way that their season ended just left a really bad taste in my mouth. So yes, it is a goal of mine for the coach to install passion in his players. And these men, because they're not boys, they're not kids, they're men that are going to work to perform a job, okay? While for you and I, we look at hockey as enjoyment, I also cover, so it's like also my career, but for these men, this is their job. Their job is to go on that ice for those 60 minutes, and granted, they don't play 60 minutes individually, you know what I'm saying? But the goal is for them to go on the ice and play successfully. That is their job. That's what they get paid to do. And a coach, same thing. He gets paid to make this team this team. Yes, sometimes it's a little, confusing because you don't want to look at it as they're going into work, but at the end of the day, that's all it is. They're playing for the St. Louis Blues. They are working for the St. Louis Blues organization. And to have the season that they had this past year is unacceptable. Nobody should look back at this past season and say, oh, yeah, well, this was good. This was good. No, it was not good. It was not acceptable. And it's not the standard that St. Louis hockey should be. And that upsets me because this is one of the greatest hockey fan bases. It's passion, like beyond passionate. Like, are you kidding me? And, we've had some of the greats play for the St. Louis Blues, as I mentioned before, Kachuk, Gretzky. And it's embarrassing whenever a team that had such greatness lets it up and has a crappy season. I hate to compare other teams, but for instance, a team that had a crappy season a couple years ago, I believe, was the New York Rangers. And again, they were an original six team. They had a lot of history, and it's people look at that and they see, oh, well, how can this team be competitive again when they had such a bad season? And they made the playoffs, so it's not impossible for the Blues to bounce back and to gain the respect again. I just find it annoying because this shouldn't have even happened. But when you don't have good defense, there's not much to expect at all. At all. All right. Before I head into the next segment, I want to let you know that this is brought to you by eBay Motors. Make sure you guys go to ebaymotors.com/eBay Motors Guarantee Fit. I promise you, if you want to find the perfect part, eBay Motors has it. You go to my garage, ebaymotors.com. Everything will be linked below, by the way. Alrighty. The future of St. Louis, I almost knocked over my ring light, is closer than we think. And this is so true. The St. Louis Blues have a lot of prospects that are developing beautifully. As we know, my boy Dvorsky, oh man, and Otto Stenberg. Like, there's so many guys in this past draft class that have really impressed me with their prospect development camp. And it's closer than we think. And I'll tell you why. Usually when you draft somebody, you think, oh, it's going to take a long time. They're never going to get here. Well, for the St. Louis Blues, I feel the opposite. I feel like these guys are super talented, super ready and prepared, and who's to say that they're not going to be up sooner than we think? Now, a really cool stat that I saw was an NHL power ranking that some fans made, and they had goaltender Joel Hofer on it, who is the backup to Bennington. And it just makes me think, like, I'm seeing the future among the St. Louis Blues right now. I laugh a little bit, even with Robert Thomas, young guy, and I see the future in him. And I'm happy because in the last episode, and this is kind of a sidetrack of the future of the Blues, because this is important, I talked about Shenny should be captain, and everybody agreed. And isn't that kind of like cool in a way, knowing that the future of St. Louis really could begin this season? A whole new legacy, a whole new chapter. And that's why hockey is a beautiful sport, because you see players rise that you may not expect to rise. And in Braden Shen, he is somebody that has really embodied what it is like to be a St. Louis Blue. I do see him being uber successful if he does become captain and leading this team to greatness. He has what it takes. He has the passion. And I also, most importantly, believe that he is going to teach these young prospects the proper way to develop. And that is important in prospect development camp. Jordan was there. A couple other guys, I want to say Volk, maybe. A couple other guys were there to mentor these young prospects. And that's important in the game of hockey. You hear it all the time. You see it in the movies. These players really rely on their mentors. And having a mentor, not even just a mentor, but a leader that you can go to if maybe you're one of the younger guys. Hey, can you help me out with my stick handling? Just something simple. I feel like Shenny would be the kind of guy that would do that. He would also point things out that you did right and wrong. And he has respect. He has the respect of the locker room. And that is the most important part of captaincy, is being able to gain respect amongst those around you. A captain naturally is a leader. While, Shenny is a little bit older than I would have liked for the future captain of the St. Louis Blues, he still has seasons left in him. You will still see Dvorsky play with Shen. You will still see Braden Shen on the ice for years to come. To everybody listening on Locked On Blues right now, I am telling you that there is no doubt in my mind that Braden Shen will have the C. I truly believe it in my heart and my soul. I believe it in every single thing I've preached and talked about. I was looking back at some of the tapes from last season, and they would be foolish not to make him the captain. He has a good relationship with Berube, which is important. He has the respect and he has the talent, and he makes the Blues better when he's on the ice. And he really is what a captain should be. And that's the future of the St. Louis Blues. While, O'Reilly was, beyond respected, and Pietrangelo was as well, you can't go another season without a captain. You can't. I don't know what the Blues are waiting for. If they do that, then that is an insult. That is an insult to Braden Shen. And I truly believe that. And installing Shen with captaincy would insinuate a new future, because he is every single thing that a St. Louis Blues player should be. And yeah, does it bother me? Absolutely, it bothers me. It's July 18th, and there's been no news on a captain. Blows my mind, to be honest with you, that this is even happening. It blows my mind. Blows my mind. But the overwhelming response that Blues, Twitter has shared about Shen, hopefully will be seen by the higher ups in St. Louis. Because, and I was thinking about this with the game of hockey. Hockey is, and you can make an argument about every other sport not needing a captain, right? Football, there's a bunch of captains. Baseball, you don't really need a captain. Basketball, nah. But hockey, you do. Because in hockey, yes, it's a team sport, but it's not a big team sport. Meaning in baseball, guys get caught up from the minors all the time. In hockey, you're mostly just with the same group of guys, a very small group of guys. A captain, oh captain, is one of the most important roles on the ice and off the ice. And I can't preach that enough. So yes, it bothers me. Do I think that, Robert Thomas could be a captain one day? Yes. But is that going to be today? No. You have to earn that. And when you think of a player that earns that, it's Braden Shen. And it all goes back, folks, into the future of the St. Louis Blues and how it's closer than we think. Because then that means a new chapter. And who knows, maybe one day in the very future, Dvorsky would be a captain. You just don't know where anyone's paths are going to lead. You don't know if someone's going to get traded. You really don't know. Except Torrey Krug. No, I'm joking. I don't blame him. Some light hockey humor. Awkwardly laughing because I respect Krug's decision 100%. But he is a good teammate. He reached out to Kevin Hayes, actually, when Kevin Hayes got dealt here from Philadelphia. Krug has been around, and it's because of this. Hockey is about respect. It's a game of respect. It's a game of development, respect, passion, and heart. And I'm very proud of St. Louis, actually. I'm very proud, not of the team, but of the fan base from this past season. Because despite the fact that the St. Louis Blues did not have a good season, they, and not even that, you, everyone still, still stay passionate. And that's why hockey is the best sport. That's why hockey, has the best fans. And I'm a little jealous. There were some photos of Lord Stanley with some of our former and current teammates, Terrence Suko and Ivan B. And, Petrangelo had the cut back in St. Louis. And it's one of those things where there's so many connections, and that team was super close with each other. And the fact that players who were now on the Vegas Golden Knights were able to share with their former teammates of the St. Louis Blues, because that's how close that team was, it makes you really wonder, is the future of St. Louis Blues hockey going to be another cup? And I would like to say yes. I would really like to say yes. I do. It was one of those things where I kind of got a little sad. Ivan was on a boat, and it just made me think back to seeing these players celebrate here in St. Louis. But sometimes time tricks us in a way. We think that it's forever ago, when in reality it wasn't. But here's the thing. Other teams are hungry. Other teams have even had their first Stanley Cup. Granted, we just had our first one of like 52 years in 2019. But the point I am trying to make is this, is that there is motivation that other teams have. For instance, the Sharks. They're not going to win it this year. But I'm just saying as an example. Like, they might be thinking, oh my God, we haven't won a Stanley Cup. Or the Coyotes. Like, there's so many teams that have not won the Cup. The Panthers even. They might get hungry to get back there again. But it all goes back to one thing. Who wants it more? And I want that to be St. Louis. I truly do. There would be nothing that would make me happier than the Blues in a couple years getting back there. I don't think it's going to be this season, okay? I don't think the Blues are going to win the Cup this season. I will give you my predictions heading closer to the season, who I think it's going to be. The past couple seasons, I got it correct, I want to say. This past year, my own personal podcast, I said that it was going to be the Vegas Golden Knights. The year before that, I said it was going to be the Colorado Avalanche. And then I had the Tampa Bay Lightning. And I had it wrong the year before. And then with the Blues, I didn't even have that because I had the Bruins actually that year. So I was happy that that didn't happen because I hate Boston. But the point I'm trying to make is I've become like a wizard with now predicting who wins the Stanley Cup. I can tell you all the teams that are not going to be, but there's like a group of 5 teams that I potentially think that it could be. Let me know if you want to hear some of my like predictions and things that is a little side topic, but let me know. All right. Well, today's episode's been fun. It went by faster than I even thought. Get ready for episodes all week like usual. And I will see you tomorrow on Locked On Blues. And like always, how I end my episodes, let's go Blues.